This is the Attic Fanatic.
Bro, how you doing, man? Lots happened since last time we spoke. A lot of things. But how are you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, all right. We could definitely start with the schedule release and whatnot. So we could definitely start with the NFL a bit.
Oh, that's a fun one.
Still not much to talk about, but we could do. What game are you circling on your schedule as of now?
For the Texans,
Yeah,
absolutely the
yeah,
Philadelphia
or
game on
any,
Christmas Eve.
or any. Okay, Philadelphia game on Christmas for your own petty reasons, I'm
I
sure.
feel like it's petty reasons, and I just feel like it'll be a fun game to watch more than anything else. I, obviously there's gonna be a lot more games that are gonna be fun. Like we got the Colts on Thursday night. That's gonna be a real fun one. There's some really good games that are gonna be happening this season. Just I feel like Christmas Eve football. I'm excited to see to watch that.
No, that's definitely that's a great one. I mean, you can't go wrong with Christmas. The impact it's going to be for the Texans, I'm not sure at that point because it's a little bit. I mean, it's when you look at it this way, it's Christmas, so December you're pretty much already going to know whether or not you're a fringe playoff team or you're already in the clear and controlling your division. But the Eagles are probably going to
It,
be in the mix too, so that's going to lead. It's not going to be a boring game. Both of you are probably going to have something to lose, so therefore, you're
Absolutely.
probably gonna it's probably gonna be a must win for both of you guys. So I'm looking right off the bat, Monday night, week 1 for the Broncos. That's what I'm looking at right away.
That's out the gate to get a primetime game's always fun.
I want to
Yeah.
see it all. I want to see it all. I want to see Patrick Mahomes returning from his injury, and I want to see Bo Nix returning from his injury, and to see how it looks and see how it plays out. A lot of people would say, outside of the Denver market, would say that it's an aberration, Denver clinching the AFC division, and they think that, chances for a repeat. I'm not sure if you pay attention to the Vegas betting odds or whatnot, but the Broncos didn't move an inch
Okay.
of where they were last year. Still 20-1
Oh, really?
odds. Yeah. There's like 15 or so teams already in front of them, including
Wow.
including the Houston Texans. Houston Texans are up there too.
I'm happy, but I feel like that is a little filthy to kind of have them that low.
Well, it's because I think it's because of that. I think it's because they think it's just an aberration. Like, okay, you won one season, but kind of do it again. And I think that's fair. It's this is new. We went from like mediocre to like really good, like really really
Yeah.
good in a matter of a season. So I get it. Like I have optimism, but you know me, I try to stay pragmatic. Even though it's my own team, I don't really like to get too high or too low. If anything, I'm real bullish on my team, and I want to see it again. I'm not just looking at my schedule because I've been breaking it down. For the Broncos, I do not predict that we're gonna have 14 wins again. That's just when you have 10 plus one score games. It's like flipping a coin and call heads or tails, and you just happen to get lucky and heads comes up all 11 times. I don't think the chances of that happening again next year, which again, I would love to have egg on my face and prove that I'm wrong. I got it projected right around 11 games. I think over-under should be starting at like 10 and a half wins. And I think that's healthy because now you get your first place schedule. Bro, our schedule to start off, we have a gauntlet right off the bat. I mean, you got the Chiefs week 1. You got the Rams right after that, shortly after that. I mean, you got a lot. You got Jaguars who you could believe that they're an aberration, but I don't. I think that's a young, dangerous team. So I think, I mean, you could probably speak towards that, but of course you're probably going to let your pettiness get a hold of you and talk down a little bit about them.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, we're gonna have a little bit of favoritism towards the Broncos in that matchup. I mean, yeah, y'all's schedule is gonna be a little tough. I'd say y'all got probably about 5 easy games, and the rest of it's gonna be a bit of a battle. So yeah, no. But yeah, I definitely hope y'all get that Jacksonville game. That would be doing us a major favor.
I just want it because I get back last year because they just dominated
Oh,
us.
sure.
But they don't have they don't have their workhorse back anymore. Travis Etienne said, "I'm gonna go to New Orleans and get that money and championship. We'll worry about that later." But I'm picking money, and I don't
Yep.
blame him for it. I never blame for generational wealth. I get it for sure. I'm trying to temper expectations because I get it. Like, you don't want to regress. You're either progressing or you're regressing in this league. But I mean, it's really hard to duplicate that. And we got lucky last year with the ball bouncing in our favor 11 times. Like, to expect that this year, I do think we're good enough to be in the playoffs. Like I said, like 10 and a half, 11 wins. I do think we're going to be like maybe even wild card, maybe depending on how tough the division is, because the division is also, aside from maybe the Raiders, who They won the offseason, but as they should, you should. You're that terrible. You should. You're drafting Fernando Mendoza, number 1 overall. You should, you know. But it's a little too, again, like I felt like you brought it up, and I think we should talk about it because it is relevant. But we could skip more of the time since it's peak NBA postseason and NHL postseason. We don't have to talk about it any more than that. But I mean, I figured it was worth bringing it up. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. I'm definitely excited for that season to get started. And yeah, so.
well, we only have so many of these before the NFL takes over again, bro. Before we know it, it's going to be training camp, and then how's the draft picks looking? How's the quarterback competitions looking? That's one thing I will say. I think it's interesting that's not being talked about enough, maybe a little bit, is the backup quarterback position in Denver. I know quarterback is definitely a topic for you for CJ Stroud, and we could talk about that right after this. But I mean, there's a notion, of course, and maybe it's just fans overreacting and being fans, of course, but there's a notion to bench or even get rid of Jarrett Stidham after his showcasing the AFC Championship game. Again, I try to stay pragmatic about it. It's like you could have the best team in the league. There's only probably like 2 teams that have a backup that's comparable to their first string. I'm thinking of the LA Rams with Jimmy G, Ty Simpson, and then maybe Mac Jones with the 49ers. Aside from that, if you're playing your backup, dude, you should probably know like things aren't going to go your way. So it's just the fact that people were naive enough to believe, and you know what? I'll give kudos to it. We're a couple missed field goals and maybe a questionable 4th down call away from actually beating the Patriots last year in the AFC Championship game. But it's a backup quarterback. Like, what do you expect? What, you think he's just going to sling it out there, throw for 44 attempts and have 450 yards and 4 touchdowns? Like, that's just not. But anyways, there's a notion around the market that's like, hey, get rid of Jarrett Stidham and promote Sam Ehlinger, our 3rd string who we re-signed. And I think that's interesting. Sam Ehlinger is a very rush-heavy guy, though. So that's interesting because that's kind of the antithesis of this high-throwing offense. So I really don't. If you're asking me where I fall, gun to head, I mean, keep Jarrett Stidham. Like I said, it's a moot point to me because if Bo Nix isn't starting at quarterback, this team is going nowhere. I don't think that's a shocker. I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's just logical. Like, that's 90% of the teams in the NFL.
100%.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, no. Stidham. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit as outside the fan base. I was thinking that Stidham was at least gonna have like a 200-yard game out of that, and that ultimately did not happen. I agree. You get a little too excited sometimes. And you think the backup's gonna do a lot more than most of them will. I mean, to be honest with you, I think the Texans are really lucky for the backup that we have, but ultimately you're not going to see, like you said, not very many quarterbacks are going to be able to just step in and take over from and do what the starter was doing. You're not getting the same reps regularly, and it can be a big deal even with that week of preparation. I mean, that's a lot to ask from them.
Yeah, needless to stay on a regular season, but let alone the AFC Championship game. Like, they're human beings, they have pressure. But CJ Stroud, speaking of backups, is there going to be a legitimate quarterback competition? Is Davis Mills just doing good for naught? Like, what are the sort of you're keeping your ear to the ground over there, of course, but what are the media people saying, and what's your gut instinct on the matter?
Casario's made it very clear that CJ is their quarterback, and he will be their quarterback moving forward. They have no intention of there being a battle between the two. I think as a fan, I think as a lot of us who've watched the games, I think a lot of us really do believe in Davis just as much as we believe in, well, actually probably more so than CJ, just given what he's shown in the postseason. But as this regular season comes up and we start watching more of these games, hopefully CJ turns it around. I mean, it really is a mental state. If you can recover it, and then hopefully he can be able to push forward. But if it doesn't happen, I mean, Davis seems very happy in Houston. He just seems very comfortable being the backup, and he has no issues, being there.
Kid.
So
hometown kid, went to U of H, from Texas himself, been doing well for himself.
Yeah, so he seems pretty happy. This guy. We are very blessed to have that. I think he showed enough where honestly, there was teams contacting us about him, possibly being traded to Cincinnati and a couple of others. So we're very lucky that he actually wants to be here. So if CJ does fall on his face again, we do have a very good backup plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully the draft picks, because you guys drafted some O linemen, hopefully that's enough to keep them upright, and that's enough. I don't know if you guys got any wide receivers. Nico Collins is a real good dude. Of course, he's a thoroughbred, but I think you need some help for sure. I don't know if you signed any guys. I mean, we'll start with the line because it's not the sexiest of picks, and we talk about this all the time, but it's so fundamentally sound for you to have a good offensive line. So it does make sense that, okay, you can make the argument last year CJ Stroud was one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league. You keep him upright and he actually has time to read the defenses. Who knows if his production could come up with that. So I kind of like your plan because it's very rational. It's very practical. It's okay. We'll give you another shot, CJ, because, we don't want to mess with his ego and we don't want anybody to dysfunction, not to mention the monetary value and draft pick and, what he's going to demand in a contract and whatnot. Like, you better use him if you're paying him. But if it fails, okay, you got Davis Mills there to back it up. Because Houston's defense is going to be there. Hands down. That's the consistent that you have. So it's kind of just, okay, can you revive CJ Stroud? Did you guys, are you guys sticking with the same offensive coordinator?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
He's back around for one more year.
Okay, well, that's important because continuity with the playbook. So then you can't use that excuse if you're CJ Stroud. Hey, man, this is the second year in the system. You didn't know that read. You're not making that call. Like then it just gives credence to that, and he can't use that as an excuse. So it'll be interesting for sure. But let's transition to NBA, bro. Let's go to that. So we made our predictions, and mine already busted. I predicted the Boston Celtics and the OKC Thunder making it to the finals, and the OKC Thunder ultimately winning it begrudgingly to me. And so, I mean, I guess I could still technically pick the winner, but we don't do moral victories around here, Flip. So no, I busted. That's it. You're sitting pretty looking over there. It looks bad because the Cavs are down 0-2 to the Knicks, but it's like the same it's like that Spider-Man meme of one Spider-Man pointing at the other. That's what the New York Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers are to me, personally, because they're, both of their star players haven't gone over the mountaintop and they've been close to it. So it's like, who's going to flinch first? But you picked the Cleveland Cavaliers and the San Antonio Spurs to go to the finals, with the Spurs ultimately winning. I'm not sure about your Eastern Conference. However, like I said, like I just alluded to, I think it's a coin toss. But the Spurs have arrived. The Spurs have definitely arrived. And we talked about this team. We've been discussing it for a while now with our predictions. But I have to say, I was wrong in the sense where I said they needed to make more battle scars. And maybe they do, because that series is yet to be over, and it's probably more than likely a 7-game series. But, man, I saw it on paper, and I said this. I said, hey, their only detriment, they have all the skill in the world. They have a deep bench. They have all the players they can want, offense and defensive. Stephon Castle, one of the best 3-and-D players that there is. His three-point shooting can be better, but as far as two-way players, he is definitely up there. You got Victor Wembanyama, who's not limited in the slightest, even on the defensive end. Not even my beloved Nikola Jokic has the defensive prowess that Victor Wembanyama has. Dylan Harper, I thought we were going to be talking about, is a cute piece off the bench. Let I know that the boy was going to hang 24 like it was nothing and saying he's ready. With De'Aaron Fox not even on there. And I love De'Aaron Fox. This is going to be a theme that we're talking about with the NBA, bro. It's about the Sacramento Kings and the Indiana Pacers during that time period where Tyrese Halliburton was traded to the Pacers for De'Aaron Fox to the Kings. And I thought that fit like a hand in a glove. I thought De'Aaron Fox was enough to pair with Domantas Sabonis to be that 1-2 punch to get the Sacramento Kings to over the top. However, I was wrong because Sacramento is going to do what Sacramento does, and that kind of got blown up. But then he found his way to the Spurs, and it's the same thing. It's all right. You swap out Domantas Sabonis for Victor Wembanyama, and if anything, that's an upgrade. Like I've loved the kid's play. I think he's really talented, and I don't know. I think the Spurs have arrived, and it's depressing me a lot, dude. It's depressing me a lot because I'm what we were talking about last time with the Nuggets, and I won't get into the ramble because our teams are out. So we could talk about them a little bit, but I want to focus on the teams that are already here because I love what I'm watching in the Western Conference. I love the matchup between OKC and San Antonio Spurs. But I'm looking at that, and at the same time, I'm getting depressed because I'm seeing the window for the Denver Nuggets just close open. And not just them. Not just them, dude. The Houston Rockets, the Golden State Warriors, hell, maybe even LA Lakers if they don't get situated. I'm looking at the future of the NBA and I'm seeing it between this matchup with OKC and San Antonio Spurs. And I know you got ties to San Antonio with the family and whatnot, but I don't think it's crazy. Me from an outsider's perspective, I think you were spot on when with your prediction of San Antonio making it to the top. I really do.
Yeah, that young core seems to be doing really well. I think the injuries are going to make this next game a little bit interesting. But yeah, no, they've kind of actually done pretty well, given the fact that they're having to handle a lot of this ridiculous time spent on the ground by uh, SGA. I think I saw a statistic saying that he had spent 17% of his time after his shots on the ground. Just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, no. Anyway, they've done a pretty good job. I think there's a lot of talent, even with Harper being out. You still got Keldon Johnson, who I think he had a little bit of a rough game last game, but I think he's going to be able to help push them through on this next one. So yeah, no, they're going to be around for a bit. They're going to be sticking around. They got a lot of guys
I mean,
that I think are
Vassell,
young and developing.
Stefan Castle, like your average,
Hmm.
they're two of the youngest teams that now OKC has a lot more savvy veterans. You got your Lou Dortches and your Anthony Caruso's and whatnot, and your Hardensteins. But I mean, that's the same thing. You got your De'Aaron Foxes and you and other players on the San Antonio Spurs. But both, for the most part, these are very young teams. They are very deep and they are not limited. And honestly, dude, another reason why I give credence to what the other teams like finesse teams like the Nuggets, not to make it all about the Denver Nuggets, but why I think it's credence that they're slipping up is the defensive presence is back in basketball, dude, and I love it. I love it so much. I mean, even if you look in the Eastern Conference, you have your Karl Anthony Towns and your Jalen Brunsons, but you also have your OG Ananobis and your Josh Harts. Like you need defense has become more of a focal point. And you're seeing, I mean, it was double overtime the other day in OKC and with San Antonio in the first game. We were treated to that, and that was such a great game, high scoring game. But it was because of key blocks and defensive lockdowns that allowed teams to go, that allowed the Spurs to win that game. So I love it.
100%.
I'm a huge fan of my '90s basketball, and I wish refs would swallow the whistle. I hate free throw merchants. It doesn't even matter if it's my own beloved Nikki J. Like, dude, you're 7'3", 280-pound Serbian. Figure it out. I don't know what to tell you, flopping all over the place. And yeah, I know we get after SGA for it and the entire OKC Thunder because they all do it, and they're some of the dirtiest players ever. But you could tell that there's been an emphasis of. I mean, Wemby was saying it, and because he's the newer voice of the NBA, it's kind of like that's carrying that voice is holding water, and the NBA is making a conscious effort to bring back the defense, and I love it, dude. But now it's like finesse teams. That's why I don't know. It's interesting about the East if the Knicks come through because they're such a great offense, but you need that defense. So OJ Anunoby and Josh Hart and players like that are gonna have to step up. Mikal Bridges, one of the best wing defenders, 3-point shooters. You're gonna have to do your job. Like defense is not going anywhere. You're gonna need both, especially with a freak athlete like Victor Wembanyama, which it's like, what do you do with that? But not only his offense production, his defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, big time agree with you. You know how I am about pretty much any sport. I'm always a big fan of the defense, and
Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to having that be more of a thing. You know, I think Wimby's the only one who's actually been remotely close to to Akeem's block record. Like it's to see those types of things. It's like it's really that to me that's more exciting than seeing those 140-point games that we see a lot more now.
Yeah, first one to 140 wins, and there's no defense. We're just gonna run right past you, and nothing's gonna be on. Yeah, that's definitely gone by the wayside. And I mean, you see Victor Wembanyama saying it when he's talking about why he should be considered for MVP. He's like, "Hey, you have to play both sides of the ball. How many players are having as many blocks as me in the NBA?" I love his confidence because it may seem as arrogant, but he's talking the talk, but he's backing it up for the most part. Like this series is gonna be
Yeah,
interesting. It's gonna be really interesting and a barn burner for sure.
absolutely. I honestly am. More invested in this game now that he didn't get the MVP. Right, like
Yeah.
that brings back that old school, the feelings of Akeem with when the general got the MVP. You know, his teammates are telling him, hey, that's your trophy,
Oh
and
yeah.
he goes out there and just dominates them. So to me,
Yeah.
it's like I want to see that energy from Wimby. I want to see that from San Antonio against OKC and lay it out there. You know what I mean? Like that was his trophy. You got to go out there and just handle it. You know what I
And
mean?
that's one thing that I think, because every sport, is quirky with their fan bases and whatnot. And NBA is the show me kind of, the flashing lights, like they want a star to take over. That's why I think personally the average NBA fan never took to Nikola Jokic for his greatness as many times as he's been up there, because he just doesn't have that ego. He's not a superstar like that. He doesn't have that. And it's not a bad thing to be that way. You could come from humble beginnings and have a humble story. But at the same time, too, people love somebody that says, hey, I'm here. You're not getting rid of me. I am worthy. I could do this. And hey, my time is now, not later. We're not talking about future. We're talking about now. Like, you could come up and take it. That's another way to become undeniable, is if they're denying you, you come up and you snatch it from people and you come and take what's yours. And I feel like that's what he's doing. He's saying, hey, I have arrived. This moment is not too big for me. You could talk about my age all you want. I've been preparing for this since I was like 13 years old, because he's been 7 foot since then. Like, he is like, he's exactly what the NBA needs. And I think I love it, man. But going to the East side, well, let's just address this first, because I've asked this over the past couple weeks. Would you, if you could have the opportunity to change your NBA Finals prediction at this point, would you? And why?
No.
No.
No, I think I'm going to stick the same. I think we're rotating to the East, but obviously I'm going to stand my ground with Spurs. I think they have plenty enough to be able to overcome the Thunder. And I'm going to stick with the Cavs because I feel like what you were saying is kind of similar. With the Spider-Man meme, they are very similar. I think when they go back to the Cavaliers go back to Cleveland, it's going to be a lot more. It's going to be more of the same, but eventually you're going to get these guys hitting their shots, and it's. I do worry a little bit with Harden, again, with his last performance and just his history as a Houston fan. I do worry about what he's going to be able to contribute to it. To be honest with you, it should never be on one guy to have to handle it. But I think that they will be able to kind of pull it back out and kind of readjust. At minimum, make this a deep series.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm asking you, because I get it, the San Antonio one, I'm confident with you. Like, I really think that the San Antonio Spurs have enough to beat the OKC Thunder. If OKC wins, am I surprised? No, I picked them to win the whole finals, the whole thing. Like I said, the only detriment to the San Antonio Spurs is that they haven't had the battle scars yet and they're young. That is not their fault, and they are learning real quickly right now. And could they be the outlier that just breaks through and wins? Absolutely. But why I was asking that more on the East is because I think with these teams being so similar, with Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson not breaking through, I think coaching might be a little bit different here. And I didn't know this. This is shame on me for not doing my research and knowing, but I told you the Sacramento Kings would be a similar theme here. Their former coach, who the Sacramento Kings went, 20, 30 years without making the playoffs, and then they finally had their series with the Golden State Warriors. Ultimately, Golden State coming on top a couple years ago. Well, their coach, Mark Brown. And what did San Antonio do? They said, nah, that's not good enough. Even though you gifted us playoffs for 20 years, you could hit the road, Mark Brown. We think we're better, and then they went and did Sacramento things and continued to implode it. Why is this relevant? Well, because now Mark Brown's showing, hey, I'm good, and this moment isn't too big for me with the New York Knicks, and I really like this coach. I really think he knows what he's doing. I don't know enough about Kenny Atkins. I like the guy from what I've heard from these post games and whatnot. I like that he takes accountability over stuff, and what he's dealing with James Harden. Like, I love the dude. I know you love him more than, well, I shouldn't say I love the dude. I know you love the dude. I have mixed feelings with the dude. I don't hate him, but this is another conversation, but I'll be consistent with this. I don't like SGA doing the 3-point free throw merchant into the MVP season. I didn't like it when James Harden did it with the Houston Rockets. I know it's your Rockets, but I'm consistent. It's the same reason why I don't like Floyd Mayweather. He's an argument to be in the GOAT conversation for boxers, but that's not my style and that's not my jam. I don't want you dancing around the ring. I want you dying on your shield. For hell or high water, I want you in the middle of the ring exchanging punches. But that's just me and my pride and my ego. But it's the same thing for the NBA. I don't like free throw merchants. I never have. I never will. And I question James Harden for that because I like a player that has heart and is willing to bleed for his MVP. But that's just me. That's just my thing. But with James Harden, it's a lot to manage. Kenny Atkins is doing his thing as best as he can. But I think the coaching might be a little bit different here of how you handle your players. Because what do you say to these guys? What do you say to James Harden when you know he needs to contribute? It's just too tricky. And then Donovan Mitchell putting too much on his shoulders as a result of that. Like, it's supposed to be those two, right? I mean, you have your Evan Mobley, you have your side players that could come and contribute on the side, but I question coaching at this point, and I think Mark Brown is going to be coaching circles around Kenny Atkins. But I could be wrong, dude. That's just I was wrong from the East from the beginning. I mean, they are the same kind of players. They both crack under pressure, but I think New York Knicks have enough around it, and I think Mark Brown's not going to let him be subtle. I think Jalen Brunson is going to bring his lunch pail every time, and I think if Karl Anthony Towns, because they don't have a matchup for him. I thought it would be Jared Allen or Evan Mobley, but they don't have a matchup for him, so I don't know. Maybe I don't know what you think. I just think the New York Knicks are going to come out on top of this.
I do like Mitchell. I do like your point though about the coaching being the difference maker, because when you do have two similar teams, that's always going to be what's going to be the difference maker, right? You got a lot of similar types of players or different or similar styles. That's definitely going to be what's the difference. I didn't even know that as well. So that's a very good point to have there.
Yeah, and I don't know much about Kenny Atkins, so I'm admitting my ignorance right there. I like I said, I like his post games because I've been watching these because they've been some great games. Bro, how do you blow a 22-point lead in the first game in the fourth quarter? Like, that is beyond me. And I thought, okay, here's the New York Knicks doing New York Knicks things. Here we go. They're not ready right now, and then they just come back and do. There's something different in the water this year, and I think I could be wrong, dude. Because I mean, like we were talking about this from the beginning. That's why I wasn't comfortable picking either of these in the East. I just went with the safe bet. I went with the bona fide safe. Oh, the Boston Celtics won a couple years ago. Granted, I didn't do my homework with the dysfunction junction between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but they're always complaining. Kobe and Shaq fought each other in the locker room. They still had a NBA Finals, a couple of them, and they came out on top because they were able to set aside their differences and, for a bigger cost. But that didn't happen with the Celtics on top of Jason Tatum's injury. Whole other different story. But the reason why I wasn't comfortable picking either of these teams was for the same reason. Like, they seem to choke in the big moment. But I don't know. The way when I saw New York come back from that 22-quarter lead, I just thought, okay, that's all the ammunition they need. They basically gave him the green light to, okay, you could slack off. You could play games with them and play with your food all you want. But just know when it comes time to turn that switch on, it comes time to turn that switch on. And to counter that with the Cavs, they seem to always slip up at those crunch time moments. So it's like, who's going to be better in the crunch time moments? And I just think the New York Knicks have proven, granted, both of them have issues with it. I just think the New York Knicks have had time and time again shown during this series that they could come back and turn the switch on. And I think what's different, I think it's Mark Brown. I could be wrong. It could be, because I love Jalen Brunson, dude. Everybody loves Jalen Brunson. It could finally, like, he's just dedicated. He's like, nah, this is mine. I'm going to take mine. And I love that story because he's a master, a joker of all trades, master of none. He's good at a lot of other things, but there's nothing exceptional about him. He's average height, average size in the NBA. He's actually kind of smaller. He's built well, but, he's the average dude. He just works hard. And I think that boy is coming. I think he sees his eyes on the prize. And granted, he could be going into the Lions then after this, but I think they'll have enough ammunition to get over the Cavs. But I can be totally wrong. I love Spider. I love Donovan Mitchell. It's like you can't have two of those guys. You can't have two guys, but James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, who have both struggled to come over the mountaintop and seem to fade in the biggest moments.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But if you want, we can move on to NHL at this time, begrudgingly. That was pretty. I mean, I don't know. Do you want anything else you want to just say about Eastern or Western Conference Finals, or do you just we could go to the NHL?
No, I thought that was pretty good. I'm not going to say much different than what I've already kind of just talked about with my. I do like the Cavs. I like some of their players, like Mobley and Mitchell as well. So we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be a fun series for the remainder of this. I don't think it's going to be a sweep like some of these other people are claiming.
Yeah, I wouldn't say sweep. They're going to get complacent. I just think I've seen enough of the formula for the New York Knicks to say, hey, we have the matchup. We know we have blueprints on how to win this team, and I think they're even if they drop a couple, I think they're just going to come back strong. But again, I'm already out on our predictions. So you're the one that's still standing. So if they win, I'll tip my cap to you and say, hey, well done. I just the inconsistency, way too many inconsistencies on both sides. But
Sometimes it's better just to be lucky.
But yeah. Oh, for reals. Just ask the Montreal Canadiens, and
Oh yeah.
I guess we'll just tee you up for that. Floor is yours because I had my moment to complain and bitch about the Denver Nuggets not too long ago. So I'll allow you to do the same thing now. Floor is yours. Whatever you want to say, whatever you want to bring to the attention here on the Buffalo Sabres and Montreal Canadiens Game 7.
I gotta say I think I feel like after now there's been a few days to kind of calm down and just kind of review everything, go over the tape and stuff like that. I feel like some of the angers kind of let out. I feel like my main frustration with that entire series was just the inconsistent calls that we were getting. We're getting a lot of finickiness from those, and I, I I don't hate Montreal for what they were able to do in that series and kind of take advantage of some of it, but I definitely have some frustration with the referees and some of the for some of the calls. I mean, that last game was a really good game to watch. It was pretty much everything you could want out of a hockey game. It had a little bit of
Phenomenal.
controversy, a lot of aggression, a lot of fighting, a lot of physicality,
Phenomenal.
great goaltending at times. But ultimately, we just couldn't get it done. I want to blame it all on the officiating, but when you have an opportunity in overtime to win, and you hold on to a puck longer than you need to, and get it knocked out of your stick for something that you know Page should be able to do. He's a young guy. I think that was a very big learning lesson for him. I think that's going to make him that much better next year for that to happen to him. To be honest with you, as messed up as it is, just there's mistakes like that were made. Tage kind of frustrated me a little bit. Dahlin in overtime, I know he played a lot of minutes, but he was looking soft and just tired. He let a guy walk up on him pretty much, and then it just finished off with Luke just, I don't know what you want to call that little elbow thing he did for that last goal, but a little frustrated with him. I think when you talk about earning scars, I think that is a game that you look back and I think you earn your scars there, right? I think those are those lessons that those for young guys. They're going to sit back and say, next time you're right. I made a mistake. I held on to the puck too long. I got to really make sure that I'm capitalizing that on that moment, or and if it's overtime, you got to make sure you got to put in that much more effort at the end. And I think they earn their scars. They're going to do better. As far as the officiating go, I I I had it was from both sides. It was finicky. You had Zucker, who absolutely levels. I forget how to pronounce his name. Dobes.
Yep, that's how you pronounce it. Dobes.
Dobes, that guy, he levels that dude. And I get that it wasn't intentional, but he just shoulder into him. That should have been a call. And then you have Greenway who hits the stick, or who hits the puck. It was right before it hits the pads. Hits the puck through the legs. It's loose in there, right? He was able to hit it. It rolls through, and then you have Mallenstein, who comes in and touches the puck afterwards. It was all fine. If it rolls into the goal, it would have still counted. They could have reviewed it. It could have been a whole thing. Mallenstein comes in and touches the puck. Because he does that, now the whole thing is just obsolete, because at the end of the day, if he doesn't touch it, I think that gets reviewed. The referee does a half little whistle with uncertainty and then follows through and actually blows it. So even he himself was just uncertain of that entire situation. I think it was just a horrible combination of just bad and just. I think the Sabres are going to learn from it. I think we had a fantastic season. I am so grateful I got to watch playoff hockey for the first time in 15 years. And that's all I can say about that. I think a lot of the Sabres fans say the same thing. You know what I mean? I think a lot of us are upset, but at the same time, it's like we got to see something that we haven't seen in so long, and you just got to be grateful to be there in that moment.
Well said, man. Well said, and you're taking it a lot better than I took it when my Nuggets got demolished by the Timberwolves. Granted, different circumstances. Your team actually whipped them out on the table when when the Montreal Canadiens called and said, "Hey, are you big enough to handle this moment?" You guys actually stood on business and actually gave them competition. And yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, that was an egregious call. However, I never like to give credence to injuries or ref calls. At the end of the day, with me, I'm very pragmatic about it, where it's a results-based business. It's like, okay, yeah, we can make excuses. The outcome is the outcome. I know that's not you. You're not trying to dwell on this so much, but I will tell you that is an egregious call. And of course, it's like hockey has all these different quirky rules. So it's like, oh, okay, if it was a free puck, that's fine. But because the Sabres player touched it, then it technically is whistled dead. Like, what are you talking? We're on the offensive side of the ball. Why can't a Buffalo Sabres player touch it? Like, it should just be a bonus. And then the whole whether the whistle should have been blown anyways, like it was delayed whistle. Like it was, I will give you that. It is an egregious call. However, the game-winning goal for the Montreal Canadiens is exactly how you teed it up. It just looked like the Buffalo Sabres were tired. You made a calculated mistake, and the Montreal Canadiens came back, and they had matchups. It was a free goal. You're putting a lot on Luke. I will say for this, I don't blame the kid a lot. I know he did cost the game on that one, but that's just, I think the defense put him in rough situations. And granted, he is young.
100%.
Again, we're talking about battle scars here because, I mean, as you alluded to earlier, like we compared the San Antonio Spurs and the Buffalo Sabres as the same team. Very young, very talented. Their ceiling hasn't been established yet. Their only detriment was that they haven't had experience yet, and this will only help them and experience it. Yeah, you want Tage to have more of an impact for sure. He's supposed to be your stud player. Dolan showing why he has the captaincy on his sweater, and he left it all out there. He did, but they did look tired, and I mean, not even before the goals, man. You just can't on defense. It was just it was way too lax on defense. Like, yeah, every once in a while they turn it up the notch, and there'd be a lot of hits and whatnot, but on a lot of those goals, and that's what Montreal makes you pay is on breakaway goals. They're really talented at that, and I just seen too much, from my opinion, just too much on the defense lacking. And that's when Montreal took advantage of it. However, there's always that caveat of, well, if the Sabres go up 3-2 at the end of regulation, it's a moot point and there's no overtime. And you'll always have that to dwell on and have that pissing you off and whatnot. But at the same time, it's hockey. It's quirky. It is what it is. You know, you just move on.
I agree with you 100%. The defense definitely was lacking a little bit there, and even Montreal fans were saying the same thing. Is like, we were nervous because at the when they were swinging and going, Buffalo put so much pressure on them, and Montreal just didn't know how to handle it. Then you go into overtime, you got guys kind of sitting back and just kind of be a little bit more lax, and like you said, Montreal's going to take advantage of that all day, and they showed that.
Yeah, for sure. So you tip your hats, but yeah, you're handling it well, man. Like, again, like I will give you that was very egregious, but of course, the guys, the head referee or the ex-referee came on and explained it in the textbook rules and whatnot of that player Martinstein or whatever touching the puck and whatnot, how it is legitimate and how that is against the rules, even though it's a stupid quirky hockey rule. That's hockey in a nutshell. So we flush it and we move on to these next rounds. However,
yeah, and you gotta love some of these kind of love and hate it too, though, because when we talk about the NBA and like hockey has embellishment rules, right? Like you can't over dramatic. Like there's some things that you gotta love about it, and then there's just some things you hate, and we it's definitely a love hate relationship with the way hockey officiates things.
No, for sure. And when you want them just to swallow their whistle, and we've talked about this like the past 2 weeks, buddy, like the past 2 podcasts. Nobody knows what goalie interference is. It is still a mystery. Like they go into Toronto and they're just like, oh yeah, let's go. Let's say it is this time. When 2 weeks ago, it looked the exact same situation and it wasn't the last time. Like nobody. I think you're right. And like with many other sports, both NBA and NFL, like officiating, rightfully so, deserves its criticism. It needs to get better. It always needs to get better. But yeah, at the end of the day, you don't want the officiating crew deciding the game. And that's the thing. Like, again, you could say it's a moot point because it's 3-2 and then the end of regulation in third and there's no overtime. But you do go into overtime. You have to process that. You have to be ready to play. You blow it on your puck handling and a defender just comes in and hooks you and picks your pocket. And then it's a breakaway goal, Alex Newhook for already tired Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who was making great saves. It's just he is also young and he has to learn. But yeah, I don't think it's, like I said, their window is wide open. They're only going to get better. Now Buffalo will actually have leverage for free agencies if there is any free agencies, and hopefully you hang on to your guys. I mean, but some of the other one, I mean, you're definitely going to hang on to Benson. Norris, I don't know. Maybe he could hit the blocks or that. I honestly think my own guy, my own former Bo Byram, I think maybe you talk about him because he wasn't showing up as well. A lot of your defenders, that's who
Yeah,
I'm going to scrutinize.
Power was one that kind of bothered me a lot too. There are definitely some guys,
If
but
you,
ultimately, if I had the choice, I'd run it back with all of them.
hey,
But
if it ain't
the
work,
cap is not going to work that way.
yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But yeah, now you're looking towards it. But yeah, that team has nowhere to go but up. But oddly enough, you picked the Montreal Canadiens to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, so you're still alive with that. I picked the Canes and the Avs. You picked Montreal and the Avs, if I believe so. So if you want, we could talk about this upcoming Western Conference Final that's about to go down. I did not see the Montreal Canadiens upsetting the Canes. However, Canes are like the Cowboys in the NHL. Like they have yet to win it, and it doesn't matter how good they are. So I mean, I didn't see it happening in this game, but I did see Montreal stealing a game. But yeah, this Vegas series definitely has me a little bit concerned with the emergence of the Cale Makar injury. Definitely a lot more confident in it, but again, one thing I will say for the series, and again, it's an ongoing theme. I don't like to give credence to injuries and officiating calls. You know, Vegas is going to be physical. Not that calls have been a problem. Just they're going to be physical and they're going to get away with some. And for Avalanche being quote unquote a finesse team, it's kind of this is where you kind of assert yourself. Like, okay, your enforcers need to come out. Your Josh Mansons and your Brett Burns and all your big players, your Gabriel Landeskog's, everybody that's built like a linebacker, you need to assert yourself. And honestly, I don't want to hear about Cale Makar. Yes, Cale Makar is one of the best players on the planet. He's probably the best defensive D-man in the game, and he's probably arguably our first, if not our second best player. So I get the impact, but dude, like this is supposed to be the deepest team in the NHL. I don't want to hear about injury concerns, especially when you're facing a quote unquote lesser Vegas Golden Knights who also dealing with injuries. Their captain Matt Stone wasn't on the ice and he wasn't playing. So from what I saw from my observations for game one was I saw the Avalanche just falling asleep and they didn't wake up until the third period. And they've had a habit of that. You can make the argument for the Buffalo Sabres, and that's why the reason they lost in game 7 to the Canadiens, because it's when you can play with your food and turn on that switch and come back from 3 down, 3 goals, and come back to win a game, you think you could do that every single week on command when you want to, and that is the wrong mentality. It doesn't matter if you're the best team, deepest team. I don't want to hear that. Especially with the Colorado Avalanche, they've been projected Stanley Cup favorite for like the past 3 or 4 years. Coming into the season, they are always the number one odds-on Vegas favorite. When you have a reputation for that, when you have 2 of the best top 5 players in the NHL currently, I don't want to hear about excuses, and that's just my observations, dude. I don't know about what you saw. I saw a team that didn't wake up until the third quarter and was kind of just lolling on the ice and kind of just floating. And the Vegas Golden Knights took advantage of that.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of the same thing. I think in the first period there was definitely some aggression. They just couldn't seem to get some cohesion together from what I was seeing. And I do agree with you. This team is just way too good to allow that to happen. And you can't wait in the last second to kind of figure it out. One thing I kind of took away from this whole game in general was I didn't realize how bad the Golden Knights are on the cheap shots and stuff. Like they are very I thought I was frustrated with the Bruins. I was getting mad for you guys with some of that stuff. I think his name is McNabb and Anderson on the other shot on the dude who was trying to get a goal. Like it just that game was kind of frustrating in a lot of ways.
Yeah, if you can't beat them, beat them. That's the mentality in hockey, especially because and the refs are gonna swallow their whistles. It's playoff hockey, man, and it's the third round now. It is the final 4. If you think they're gonna call every ticky-tacky play, you are dead wrong. And that's the thing. The Avs, for as talented as they are, they're not the traditional like physical defensive sounded team. Their best defender is also one of the top goal scorers in the league. And Cale Makar is a good lockdown defender. He is capable of scoring, and all our D-men pair that. I think our next best guy is Sam Malinsky, and he's really came on, and he's the same thing. Like you go all the way up and down one's line through 4. You got Blankenberg on the 4th line that's really good at that. You got Kulak on the 3rd line that's good at that. Like you go up and down. All of our D-men can score. There's only a couple traditional Brent Burns and Josh Manson that are traditional like brutes that can get physical, and they're okay at scoring. But yeah, I look at that and I'm like, hey, are you gonna meet the moment? Are you gonna let this team push you around? Because that's what they've always done. That's why there's ghosts of Vegas Golden Knights past, because that's exactly what they did the last time they met us in the postseason. They just battered us and big bullied us. And Matt Stone, who's not, or Mark Stone, I don't know his name, to be honest with you. The captain of the Vegas Golden Knights, who's not even playing, he shut down Nathan McKinnon because that's his specialty. He's a defensive heavy forward, and he just bullied him. And the Avs just flinched. They didn't hit back or anything. And I'm just waiting for tonight. Tonight's going to be it's going to tell the tale of this Western Conference Finals. They need to respond in a big way, and they need to match the physicality because Kale's not playing. Sorry, but where's your Nazem Kadris? Where's your Gabriel Landeskog's? Where's your Brock Nelsons? Where's your Nathan McKinnon's? Where's your Arturi Lekkonen's? You have all these guys. You have all these players in the deep, and your depth's supposed to be so deep. Why aren't you showing up and matching that physicality? And I don't know. Maybe it's just not their style, but this is supposed to be a chameleon team that could adjust because the LA Kings were nothing like the Minnesota Wild, and the Vegas Golden Knights are like a combination of both. So I want to see it. I want to see the chameleon team here.
I expect them to come back, man. I really do. The team's too good, and I really don't think the Golden Knights are that great of a team, to be honest with you. I think it was more the Avs lacking a little bit than anything else. And to be honest with you, I just learned that y'all had Brenton Burns on y'all's team. That's kind of cool. Was a fan of him when I was doing fantasy hockey. But anyway, I think with Makar getting out, I think it's going to be I think they'll be able to overhandle it without him. They're like you're saying. There's plenty of guys on here. I mean, even Kadri just fell a little short in the first period. He had some good opportunities. There's things that I feel like will be able that they have control of that they can pull back out into this.
No, for sure, and hopefully you're right. I'm just bullish on, especially with my teams, man. I don't like to be loyal to the point of delusion. I always try to be pragmatic and take the emotions out of it. But at the same time, I probably go the opposite side of the spectrum where I am hard on my teams and I am really and that's again, like my philosophy is I acknowledge egregious calls like the Game 7 early whistle or late whistle for that goal. Absolutely. Because if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, quack, quack, it's a duck. Well, I acknowledge missed calls or injuries that are detrimental to the team, such as the impact of Cale Makar, where he's arguably your best player and the backbone of your team and your D lineman. Yes, but I'm not going to give credence to it and make it all the excuses. Every team goes through the same thing. It's hockey, too. They're mysterious with it with their lower body injuries and their upper body injuries. That's all you get. They're ambiguous and they're prideful. Everybody is hurt right now. Everybody.
Yeah, no,
on every team.
100% agree with you, man. Like when your team, and like you're saying, when you got a team that's expected to be in the Stanley Cup, I mean, you should have tough love with your team. There's no other way to go about it. I mean, you got the other guys in here who are looking to be in there. Of course, they can be soft and we're happy to be here. We're happy with like Buffalo. This is all great. But no, when you have a team that has been around and has that expectation and just clearly shown that they have the talent to do it, there's no excuses. Tough love is definitely what's needed.
Yeah, and that's what you need to go out and do. But we'll see. We're about to get going here soon. So if you don't mind, we'll definitely wrap this up and call it a day, Flip. But I appreciate you doing this. And until next time, get your fix however you can. The opinions expressed in Sport Takes in this show are strictly our own and do not reflect any MLB, NHL, NBA, NFL, or any professional team for that matter. It's just sports talk, dude. Don't get offended. Like and subscribe.